What if the biggest thing stopping students from reaching their potential isn't a lack of intelligence or talent, but the fear of making a mistake? Every day, students stay silent, avoid opportunities, and hold back ideas not because they can't succeed, but because they're afraid to fail. Welcome to ETP Next Generation, a mentorship series focused on helping students build confidence, discipline, and direction so they can succeed in school and in life. In this video, we'll explore why the fear of failure affects so many students and how learning to face that fear can become one of the most powerful steps toward personal growth. Think about a typical school day. In almost every classroom, there are students who actively participate, raising their hands, sharing ideas, and volunteering for opportunities. At the same time, there are others who remain quiet even when they know the answer or have something valuable to contribute. At first glance, it might seem like confidence or intelligence separates these students, but in many cases, the real difference is something much simpler: the willingness to try even when success isn't guaranteed. Fear of failure often appears in subtle ways. A student might avoid answering a question in class because they are worried about being wrong. Someone might decide not to try out for a sports team or join a club because they are unsure how they will perform. These decisions may feel small in the moment, but over time they can limit the experiences that help people grow. The truth is that many capable students hold themselves back not because they lack ability, but because they are trying to avoid the possibility of embarrassment or disappointment. Have you ever experienced something similar? Maybe there was a moment when you knew the answer in class but chose to stay quiet, or an opportunity you considered but decided not to pursue. Situations like these are extremely common, and they often come from the same place: the fear of failing in front of others. To understand how this fear works, imagine a student named Ethan. Ethan is a typical high school sophomore. His grades are generally solid, mostly B's with occasional A's when he studies especially hard. He enjoys basketball and spends time watching highlights from professional games online. Like many students, he has interests, goals, and plenty of potential. However, Ethan also struggles with self-doubt. When teachers ask questions during class discussions, he rarely raises his hand even when he believes he knows the answer. When opportunities appear, such as joining a club or participating in a school activity, he often convinces himself that it's safer to stay on the sidelines. In reality, Ethan isn't lacking talent or motivation. He simply worries about what might happen if things don't go perfectly. This kind of thinking is surprisingly common. Our brains are naturally designed to avoid situations that might lead to discomfort or embarrassment. When the mind imagines a negative outcome, it often encourages us to step back instead of stepping forward. While that instinct may feel protective in the moment, it can also prevent us from gaining valuable experiences. Learning any skill requires mistakes. Whether someone is practicing basketball, solving difficult math problems, learning a musical instrument, or developing public speaking skills, improvement happens through trial and error. Imagine trying to learn basketball but quitting after missing the first few shots. Progress would never happen. Yet many students treat academic or personal challenges this way, assuming that a single mistake means they are not capable. A different perspective on failure can change everything. Instead of seeing failure as proof of weakness, it can be viewed as part of the learning process. Many successful people openly talk about the setbacks that help them grow. Basketball legend Michael Jordan once explained that he missed thousands of shots during his career and lost many games. Early in his life, he was even cut from his high school varsity basketball team. Instead of allowing that moment to define him, he used it as motivation to improve. Stories like this appear in almost every field. Scientists run experiments that fail before discovering new ideas. Entrepreneurs build businesses that don't succeed before eventually creating successful ones. Writers produce drafts that are never published before completing their best work. In most cases, failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the path that leads to it. Returning to Ethan's story, one day his teacher assigns a class presentation. As soon as Ethan hears the assignment, he begins imagining everything that could go wrong. He worries about forgetting what to say or feeling embarrassed in front of the class. Normally, he might try to avoid situations like this, but this time he decides to approach the challenge differently. Instead of focusing on the possibility of failure, Ethan focuses on preparation. He practices his presentation at home several times and even records himself speaking so he can identify areas for improvement. At first, the process feels uncomfortable, but each practice session makes the task feel more manageable. This reveals an important truth about confidence. Confidence rarely appears before action. More often, confidence develops as a result of action. When the day of the presentation arrives, Ethan still feels nervous. His voice is slightly shaky at the beginning, and he briefly forgets one part of his speech. However, he takes a moment, continues speaking, and finishes the presentation successfully. The negative reactions he feared never occur. Instead, the teacher compliments his effort, and a few classmates mention that they enjoyed the topic. That experience changes something in Ethan's perspective. The worst-case scenario he imagined never actually happened. By facing the situation instead of avoiding it, he realized that challenges are often less frightening than the stories our minds create about them. Over time, Ethan begins applying this lesson in other situations. He participates more during class discussions and eventually joins a school club. Later, he even decides to try out for the basketball team. He doesn't become the best player immediately, but he improves steadily because he continues practicing and learning from mistakes. This shift in thinking reflects an idea known as a growth mindset. A growth mindset means believing that abilities can develop through effort and practice, rather than being fixed from the beginning. Students with this mindset view challenges differently. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" they ask, "What can I learn from this experience?" That simple change in perspective can have a powerful impact. When students begin to see mistakes as opportunities to learn, challenges become less intimidating and progress becomes more likely. Consider another question for a moment. What opportunities might appear in your life if fear of failure didn't stop you from trying? Sometimes the only difference between growth and staying stuck is the decision to take a small step forward. Students who grow the most are often those who are willing to try new things even when success is uncertain. This willingness builds resilience, the ability to recover from setbacks and continue moving forward. Resilience is one of the most valuable qualities a student can develop because challenges are a natural part of life. Eventually, Ethan notices something interesting. The more he steps outside his comfort zone, the less power fear has over his decisions. Situations that once felt intimidating become manageable. Presentations feel easier, new activities feel less stressful, and confidence gradually replaces the anxiety he once felt. The reason is simple. Ethan has learned that mistakes are not the end of the story. They are part of the story. Every successful person you admire has faced moments of failure, doubt, and uncertainty. What separates those who move forward from those who remain stuck is not perfection. It is persistence, the willingness to keep trying, learn from mistakes, and improve over time. So the next time that voice in your mind asks, "What if I fail?" try asking a different question. What might I learn if I try? Growth rarely happens inside the comfort zone. It happens when students challenge themselves, take small risks, and accept that mistakes are part of becoming better. Failure does not define who you are. It simply shows that you are willing to try. If this message helped you see fear of failure in a new way, remember that the habits you build now, confidence, discipline, responsibility, and resilience, will shape the opportunities you have in the future. For more mentorship videos about confidence, peer pressure, discipline, and student success, stay connected with ETP Next Generation, the ETP Entertainment Mentorship Series. Like the video, subscribe, and share it with a friend who might need this message today.